I'm going to live now. So welcome. And I'm
Hi.
super happy. Finally. So welcome to this space, Vesna. This space, the name is ATMA con Beatriz, which is in Spanish. ATMA means aprendiendo a transformar nuestro mundo en alternativas, learning to transform our world in alternatives. And I started this like 4 months ago. So today is the chapter or episode 62.
Wow.
So yeah,
Nice.
62 already. So I started in Spanish, and with this, the first question, it's who is Vesna for Vesna? And from there, we will build up the conversation. Who is Vesna? Tell me when you were not married, what was your name? And now you are Vesna Jacob. But who is Vesna for Vesna?
Well, Vesna was Vesna Pericevic, then became Vesna Pericevic Jacob. I'm a former athlete from Bosnia, where I was born and brought up. And then I spent a few years living in Germany as well, where I was supposed to embark on a professional basketball career, but life had a different ideas for me in mind. So I ended up with an injury, two unsuccessful surgeries down the road. I was told I will never be able to walk again. And
Wow.
that kind of took me on a different journey. Um, at that point of time, my country was still in war, so I survived the war. Then I had this injury, and
what year was that? What year was that?
1992 war started in Bosnia. I'd been through the war, then managed to go to Germany in 1990, end of 1994, 1995. And then just a week prior to signing my first professional contract, I ended up with injury. And then kind of a next stage of my life started. So I kind of split my life into four different lives I lived. I have a life before the war, then there is a war injury, and then the recovery process kind of started. I was told I will never be able to walk without a limb. Was told that my professional career absolutely was over, but I was also told that I will not be able to even play or do any sports, even recreationally.
Wow.
And I was, at that time, I was 18. So kind of, it really shook me because in my mind, my life should have looked in a certain way. So the first step was when the war happened, because that wasn't in my plan.
Of course,
the plan of my
not at
life,
all.
the war wasn't on the cards. So
Yeah.
I had to kind of restructure how my life should look like. And then I had that second thing, this is how my life should look like. And then I had injury. Now that I wasn't planning with that either. And I definitely wasn't planning with not being able to play basketball. And I wasn't planning with having to find alternatives or not being able to do whatever I wish to do with my body. So for about few months, then I had a very dark phase of questioning everything, and why me, and why now, why this life has to be this tough, or how many challenges do I have to face at this age, and like what God has against me. I was so angry with God. And
I can see that.
yeah, and at the same time, I was angry with my environment. And had I not gone to the German, had I not gone to that hospital, had the doctor been better, there was all that pent up anger was inside of me. But that actually came out of fear, out of despair, out because I had no plan B. I didn't know who I was without basketball. I defined myself through the basketball. And then all of a sudden, somebody kind of took that away and it left me with nothing. So I felt like I was nothing. I felt I was not worth anything, because I was so connected to that idea of self. And then I was left in vacuum. So then I went the other way. So I started partying, drinking.
Yeah, but wait, but the 1 second, because I will ask you, of course, about the other way and all the things that you have been doing since then and the thing that you are doing now. But you said something very important, and I mean, all the things that you are saying about you is very important. What I want to mention is like, how you were attached to the idea of that self, that when that activity went off from your life, like you couldn't continue being the basketball player and going to that professional, you were nothing. You say like, okay, I left everything that I was. When we, the human beings, when we are attached to that connection of one little thing or big thing, it doesn't matter how big, how small the thing is, the attachment of that thing, like close all the possibilities, as you say, that you didn't find any alternative in that moment, because for you, you were the basketball player and your professional career was just attached there.
Basketball was one thing that was my anchor, because when I was growing up, I was always very shy, but I pretended not to be shy. So I was so it was and this was something I was good at. So nobody needed to see or could have seen how shy or uncomfortable or in social situations I was, because there was a basketball and I was known through my basketball. So it was my armor on one side. On the other side, it made my life much easier because I was known for playing everything, so I could get away with lots of things. So it came with a perks.
Okay.
Thirdly, I was madly in love with it. I was madly in love. I mean, it kind of felt that I was a valedictorian. I was a great student just because my parents told me you can go chase the ball for as long as your marks and grades do not dip.
Okay.
So I had that focus that I would do whatever needed to be done to be able to play. So it was a passion, it was love, it was my shield. And then when the war started and when my country fell apart and when people started dying and I lost some family members, some friends, we were hungry, we had no electricity. It was one thing that kept me sane, that in this mad world, there was one constant in my life. And for as long as I could have held on to that, everything would eventually kind of find the peace. And then that went away. So many years later, as I started growing spiritual and exploring the spiritual side, I realized that that anchor was always within me, and that anchor should never be outside of you.
That's
You should not
beautiful.
have the attachment,
Yeah.
those attachments to a people, to the things, to the sports, to activity, whatever it is, that is whatever is outside of you, there is no space for attachment.
Yeah.
Because everything can go away, which I, in my life, kind of figured out quite a few times.
Yeah.
So that is, by going through that very painful experience, it gave me opportunity to sort of figure out the ways and the kind of put together the world, or start focusing on the more important things or the deeper things or the deeper layers within, which actually helped me to connect with divine and more energetic pathways rather than
That's
the
so
things around
beautiful.
us.
But just before, I wanted to ask you something about how I wanted to ask you something about what you say, that going through this difficult situation help you to focus in something. And what do you think about, because sometimes people are facing difficult situations, they are splitting from their relations, or they are, with this pandemic, many people are passing away, they have a lot of difficult situations, and the focus and the way they approach the situation is very different from what you say. So what do you think about that? Because not everybody that goes for difficult situations will go into the direction that you are saying. And not everybody that is listening to us has been living in a country that is in war when you are 18 years old. And when you have like suddenly something happened, like in 1992, you are like in the middle. Like some of the people that are listening right now that I'm seeing here, they are in Chile, they are in Argentina, they are in the United States, they are in Mexico. Guys, she's from Bosnia and she was living there, and it's a huge thing to be part of the country that is in that war. And how Vesna was sorting her own situation, what she's telling us, it's a lot of inspiration, Vesna. But what can you say to the people that also face difficult situations and they are like really dying because the situation is difficult, instead of trying to find out solutions or answers?
Difficult situation is a difficult situation.
Yeah.
Okay, so whatever I'm saying, I'm not saying it, or it's nothing, it will pass. You don't need to do anything. It has nothing to do with that. However, when you're facing the challenge at that point of time, when you're in that situation, there is a choice. There is a choice of asking, why me? Why now? Why do I have to suffer this much? Why that person is going through life so much better? Look at me where I am. Look at where that person is, right? If you're dealing with disease, with not having, with insecurity, with instability, with direct loss, I mean, it can be anything. The thing is that if you keep asking these questions, there is going to be emotional connect to that, which can be a fear, which can be desperation, which can be jealousy, which can be despair, anger, or anything on the spectrum, which automatically is going to charge you with a certain energy. That energy is going to affect and influence the way you take your decisions, the way you behave, the way you interact with other people. And not that very moment, but many moments later on, you're going to start living and walking the path that is not naturally your path to walk. But you will end up walking that path because there is that anger, there is a fear, there is anxiety. You're taking decisions from that space. You are trying to do your best, but you're basing those decisions from that space. You're interacting with people from that space. If I'm angry, I'm going to interact differently with you. If I have faced so many difficulties, I am going to start predisposing myself for the difficulties, because I will say, if I had difficulties 5 times out of 6 times, I will probably encounter difficulties. So I'm already walking into the space expecting difficulty.
Okay.
Which may not be there. So if we take all of that out, cry, shout, scream, whatever, and then say stop. And say, okay, this is my situation. It is what it is. I didn't ask for it. I didn't cause it. I just happened to be in this situation. I know it's not my fault. Even if it's your fault, it is what it is.
Yeah.
What can I do from this space to move on into the life that I wish to have? So it is easier said than done, because we think that somebody owes us, that universe owes us something, that we should be living particular life. We keep comparing ourselves to others. We keep having expectations of ourselves. Where should we be at this stage of our lives? So, but if you say, you know what, it is what it is, okay, let's realign. The life is not happening the way I have intended it to. So this is what my situation is. So how can I get the best out of this situation? And then move one step at a time. And as you get to the next step, again, be open that it may be the way you want it. It may not be the way you want it. And then align yourself again. Take a next step, align yourself. So it helps you shedding ego. It helps you getting slightly detached from yourself and your emotions and your ideas and the many, many, many things. And as you're walking each next step, you keep on realigning, and then that sort of things start getting easier. And you keep on then actually walking the path that you should be walking.
That's beautiful. When did you start moving? Because when did you start moving towards that spiritual space that you start getting all those different teachers, masters, gurus. I don't know if that is started in Bosnia or that started little after, I mean, in Germany, Bosnia, or when once you arrive in India?
There are three parts to this. One is that now that I look back, I always had that within me. I always have insightfulness. I always call it my gut feeling, my instinct, that I would just know something and then I would disregard it in my head because I grew up in the culture that how can you take decision just based on your feeling, right? So then I would kind of go back
yeah. I mean, in Bosnia, it should be like how you have to take decision based on something more factual.
I would discredit it in my head, right? Discredit it, then do my research, do everything, run back, forward, and then end up on the same decision.
Yeah.
But I always had it. All my female relatives from my mom's side have heightened senses. It is just something in that part of the world has never been talked about openly. I knew only that my mom had predictive dreams. And only as the energy work and kind of started developing in India, then I came to know about my feminine side of history from my mom's side.
Wow.
So that's why I said it's been there, but I had to kind of make my own round in order to find that out. In Germany, after two surgeries and few months down the road, when I started partying, drinking, smoking, I started doing everything I'd never done in my life. I was like, you know what? Because I was so angry. I was like, I lived my life so properly. I've always gone to bed early, never done anything that was not on, never tried.
I cannot hear you.
Catching up to do.
Yeah, now I can hear you. I couldn't hear you before. The last word you say was no. So
got it. So what happened is that few months after my second unsuccessful surgery, I was super angry because I was like, look at me, I live my life always so properly. I was a great athlete. I went to bed early. I practiced. I ate well. I ate clean, never touched alcohol, never touched cigarette. And I said, look where that got me. So I was like, I have some catching up to do. So I went 180 degrees the other side. Because, again, later on, I kind of realized because I wanted to not be reminded of who I was or what my life should have been. So I went completely other side. And it was a bit of a love-hate relationship. And then one morning I woken up, plus I gained 30 kilos in that period of time. So I kind of really fucked up because I started emotional eating. Because I was angry, I was desperate. I kept on trying to do something. The more was I trying, my body was rebelling. Nothing was going together. There was still war over there. Money was scarce in Germany. I ended up being on a social security. I mean, I was a welfare. I who was supposed to be a professional athlete and have that kind of life, ended up getting a welfare. Okay, so I would be scrambling for money towards the end. I couldn't get a work permit to work because I was all of a sudden a refugee, which I wasn't supposed to be. So it was so many, whichever door I knocked, everything was shut. So that I was like, and people I encountered first time in life prejudice from people and being treated differently because I was coming from that part of the world. I was a refugee and I was in the part of the world where they had a lot of their own issues. So it was kind of, and everything
how old were you in that moment? How old were you? 20, 21?
By that time I was 20. Yeah. 20. Because all of that happened from this to this 20. And so one moment in time, morning, I woken up coughing and my head was hurting. My entire body was hurting because in the meantime, I got damages on the left knee, on the left hip, got a bulging discs, got cervical issue because I had extra weight. I couldn't walk, so I was walking with crutches. And I looked at myself in the mirror and I just couldn't recognize. I couldn't recognize myself because I just And at that point of time, I saw my life 20 years down the road, and I didn't like what I saw. I saw my life. If I don't change something at that point of time, I saw myself as a bitter woman, probably cannot move, who was always angry what her life could have been, should have been, with a lot of remorse, illnesses according to it. I just didn't like what I saw. So I kind of sat with myself. I meditated first time in my life. Back then, I didn't know that was meditation. And the little voice in my head told me that I could heal, that my body could recover. So I got out of that space and I was like, now I'm hearing voices. I said, there is a diagnosis for it. I was like, great, Vesna, now you started to hear voices.
Yeah.
And I sat with myself and I was like, okay, what are we going to do now? Because the way I'm heading and what I saw, and I have no doubt that is my life I saw, I said, I don't like what I see. I said, on the other side, I'm supposed to listen to the voice in my head. I said, okay, what makes more sense to me right now? And what made much more sense to me was to listen to the voice in my head, because I always had my instincts. The moment I woken up after my first surgery, I knew surgery wasn't done properly. And everybody disregarded and said, no, there was a terrible injury. And of course you're feeling, and I was telling them something is not feeling right. And I kept saying that for 6 months. And after 6 months of lots of additional damage, unnecessary damage done to the knee, my instinct, which I had throughout, has been proven right. And there was something that has been wrong, but I wasted 6 months of a life and ruined the knee beyond repair. So that is when I said, you know what? There is obviously something which is wiser than me and smarter than everybody around, because it knows something nobody else does. And I said, what do I stand to lose? If this is not working and healing part is not, I can always go back being miserable. I mean, I had plenty of practice at that. And I said, so I said, what am I standing to lose? I can always go back to being miserable. And I said, here, let me follow that voice. Let me figure out what does that mean. Let me kind of follow that path and see where it takes me, without pressure, without expectation, just let me explore that path. And that is how I've been living my life ever since. And that is how I came to India, because the little voice told me this is where I was meant to be. And I followed that little voice. And the huge spiritual awakening that I can call spiritual awakening has been after Daniela, my daughter, was born. She's now going to be 13.
13. And we met when she was 2 months.
Yes. So when she was born, within the few months, I started actually physically feeling the energy around me. And that is when I got into Reiki. That is when I became a master Reiki healer. I went over to
tell me that slowly. What are the things that you have been doing since Daniela was born? Like, slowly, because there's a lot of things. And now the center that you have, the Altacelo, it's like it's now. I mean, it started since Daniela was born also, but you start like it's a process that you have gone through. And I would like you to share with all of us, because this is like, okay, a girl that was born in Bosnia, that was a professional basketball player, or almost professional basketball. You were playing basketball. It was your future. It was your life. It was your love. It was your passion. Then the war comes in, and then you have the injury. You went to Germany. You start walking in the different direction that you were like behaving and all, taking care of all the your training that you couldn't drink, and you did everything else. And then you get fat. You saw the image that you didn't like it. you realize that you have this inner voice and this inner connection that you wanted to explore more. You start exploring, then you listen this voice. You went to India, you married with an Indian that is my brother, by the way. I will tell you, I met Vesna because she got married with Anuraag, that guy that I have always said it was the first person I met in India and helped me a lot in the family. That's Anuraag Jacob. And Vesna, I met her when I went to India in 1998, right? 98 or
2008.
2008 and 90, yeah, 2008 exactly. 2008, and then Daniela was born. So you, from there, you start putting in practice so many of the things that were already in you. And now what you are doing 13 years after is like the connection and integration of so many things that started since you were in Bosnia in a way. But how you started with all the practices and the learnings in 2008, that was the starting point.
What happened before 2008 is, as I started following the voice, I was like, great, the voice is telling me I can heal, but how? I mean, because everything, I have been used to the extreme challenges for the body, right? Extreme trainings, very strenuous trainings, training for 4 or 5 hours a day. So that has been, and then from there, I didn't reduce that I can't walk in a straight line, right? So then I realized that I needed to learn more. Now, at that time already, I've already finished a nursing school, so I was qualified nurse, and I also volunteered in the hospital, and so I had a basic understanding of a human body and how it works. So I started trying out few things, few training practices. Then I started reading. So it was a little bit here that there is some system. I tried with some weight training. It was a lot of trial and effort, right? Trial and error. And I was like, okay, this system has something good. This, I would take what would work for me and discard what doesn't work for me. So, and then I would move on to another thing and to another thing. Then I started learning, got my later on associate degree in fitness coaching, started later on also got the physiotherapy degree done. But, and it was always that I wanted to learn a little bit more. And then from a very selfish reason, very, very selfish, I wanted to get better. And I kind of instinctively knew what was working for me. But at the same time, that Bosnian side of me, I needed to know why.
Why you wanted to know more?
Why? No, I wanted to know why do I know already why something works for me. Okay. So I kind of went the other way around because I knew what was working for me, but I wouldn't know why is it working for me. So I said, if I have a more knowledge, I will figure out why. So that is how the learning started.
So wait. So if I learn more, I will find the answers to my questions. That's why I know what I know and how, you know, like that, like, yes. But the more you learn, the more questions you have and you wanted to find why. So you need another course to give you the answer.
Yes. Yes, because I would always approach something that I don't know anything. I still have, as you know, I still have that when I approach something, I am like, I don't know anything. And then when I start putting together things, it's like, yeah, maybe I know a little bit.
You know? Maybe I know more. Yeah, you start putting many things together that you know how to make the puzzle. But the thing is, the first pre-concept of you that how you approach a thing is like, I don't know. But once you are there, okay, I know. And you will start working more. I know a little more. So it's like the closer you get to the action, the more knowledge you find out inside of yourself.
Yes, right? Yes. So absolutely right. So and to me, this was the first, because that is the way, like, you want to learn something, you go learn, study, explore, try. You know, you can't just and I also realized that not one thing was working. That I had to take few things from different things. So I started kind of collecting things from a different discipline. And that was something that was really puzzling to me, because by that time it would be like you follow one thing and that's it. Whichever that one thing is, you follow it. And I was like, but it doesn't really work for me. And then by a chance, I was introduced to Pilates. In the meantime, as a part of my emotional healing, I have realized that I had to go and remove myself from the environment that had so much of negative emotions evoking in me. So I decided to leave Germany and went back home, back to Bosnia.
So wait. We went back to before Daniela.
Bosnia.
So
Yes,
Bosnia.
we are still
So
before
Pilates was before India.
Yes, Pilates was before
Okay, we're
India.
going back to which year? How old were you?
Now I spent 2 years in Germany, went back around 22, 3 years old.
Okay, and then the Pilates came.
And then Pilates came by a chance. And for me, that was a little light bulb. And I was like, this is amazing. This kind of makes so much sense that there is a core and everything else connects to that core. So I plunged fully into Pilates for 2 years. And around that time, I started thinking, you know what, I could do this for real. At that point of time, I was working with the US Army in Bosnia as a part of peacekeeping mission. I was working as a translator and a part of security detail team. And in my free time, I was...
I didn't know.
So that was my military life. And in my free time, I was training soldiers. I was doing aerobic classes. I was doing strength training with them. I would organize basketball tournaments. So that was my kind of hobby life, because I lived on campus. So there was a time.
By then you already lost the weight that you got in Germany, but then you were already back into your north, because in Germany you saw yourself in the mirror and you didn't like it.
I lost some weight. I was able to do things much better, but there were consequences. Like if I would do certain movements, I knew for the next 2 days there will be pain. If I would, I could do everything, but up to a point. And that was that limitation. And I accepted that as normal. Of course, I had the injury, and that's why I cannot do so many things. And when I was introduced to Pilates, I realized that my form hasn't been right. And I started understanding why I got injured in the first place.
Ah, that's nice.
And that limitation of my body was not necessarily that my body physically could not do it, but rather that the body didn't know how to do it properly. And therefore, it couldn't do it properly. It couldn't do it at all. Or I would have the consequences. So that was literally as somebody took a veil. And I was like, wow, like this is it. So I plunged into Pilates and I started thinking, you know what, this is something I could do for real. Like this could be my real, not hobby, but something to do for real. And I started thinking, okay, how much money do I need to open first Pilates studio in Bosnia? And I kind of put a few numbers aside, and I was like, you know what, I need to maybe go live in one of those camps in Iraq, because at that time the Iraq thing started by US, so they were looking at people who could live there for 6 months. You have a very grueling shifts, and I said, I could that way save money. I said, I survived one war, so I might as well survive something else. But that is going to give me that amount of money which I needed to open my studio. So I kind of had my plan done. And then by another chance, I meet Anuraag. And we started talking. And 6 months down the line, he came to Bosnia. We spent 3 weeks together. 2 months later, I came to India to spend the New Year's here. And the moment I saw Delhi, a little voice in my head told me that this is where I was meant to be. And that there is something for me to do here. Now, what that was, I had no clue. No clue. So during that trip, Anuraag proposed to me. And I was like, yeah, I was in love anyways. But I said, this is where I'm meant to be. So Great, let's get married.
Yeah.
So I went to Bosnia back, resigned my job, rented my flat, packed my things, told my parents, I'm moving to India, getting married to an Indian. And I came
Bye.
here. Bye. Literally,
Ah.
within a month, I was back to India. And by a chance, then what my wish was with Pilates started becoming reality here because I had no work. I had no commit. I just got married. I know nothing about the culture, tradition. I mean, apart from what I read before.
Uh-huh.
Started exercising and practicing in the gym we were going to at that time. So people found that what I was doing very interesting. So they were like, what is it? I said, it's Pilates and it's great. They were like, wow, that sounds interesting. Would you teach us? I said, of course I would teach you. And that's how I started teaching. And within
Wow.
6 months, it was my full-time job. So from there, it's kind of within those 6 months, all of a sudden, more prominent people started calling me for classes. I started writing for a newspapers because somebody saw me somewhere, asked me if I would write on Pilates. I said, sure.
Sure, why not? Yeah.
Why not? That was the one thing that I will say yes to everything and then see what happens. I will give it a shot. And then it may work, may not work, but at least I will kind of give it a shot. And it sort of grew organically from there into eventually getting and opening a first studio, getting technology called PowerPlate into India.
Yeah.
That was also becoming a master trainer for PowerPlate. So my kind of education and learning on the physical side never stopped. Now, when it came to the emotional and spiritual aspect, that was something that I kept very personal and private, and I wouldn't bring it into this forte because, again, coming from the environment where I'm coming, you cannot be seriously professional in your environment and then talk about energies and spirits and
It's not together. Anywhere. I mean, it's difficult also for America, for Latin America, like coaches, if we talk about so much about spiritual things, like, oh, you're going into that thing of soul. It's like, and I understand that in Bosnia should be much more. Like you are coming from that.
Absolutely. Or like either you're in
Lead it.
that, either you're in that and then you should be dressed in a certain way and you should be like, oh,
White.
kind of. Exactly. Right, flying and flowers here, flowers there, and peace sign, or if you cannot be both, right? So I kind of kept this to myself and just been doing my work. And then Daniela was born. And that is when I couldn't ignore it anymore because the energy work became palpable. It kind of came into this realm that I couldn't ignore it. And that is when the Reiki and the energy work and healing and hypnotherapy kind of came into forte, and I started studying. And what I would then do is if I would send something with somebody, then I would very shyly say, like, if you don't mind, I would like to ask you or say something, but please don't mind. And then I would say what would come to me, right? And now India is a beautiful place for that. Beautiful place because part of living here is understanding there is more than this.
Totally.
And it is almost like in a cultural DNA.
Yes, I agree. I have sensed
people there might be few people who say, oh, that's all nonsense, but even them are going to say, as far as I'm concerned, it's not a judgment toward others.
Yeah.
So, and I found that really liberating, really, really liberating. And then again, bit by bit by bit, and now with a new studio which we just opened, that is kind of in the forefront. So I'm calling it a holistic therapeutic wellness or therapeutic holistic wellness.
Nice.
which is a combination that we take care of. My focus is always the physical body. So I do not lose the focus from physical body, and there is a movement, and that movement is based in Pilates, but it's not only Pilates, it's a lot of based in the functional applied science, which I also studied years later, which kind of puts a body in the upright position. However, that physical body is also influenced by our emotions, by our mental health, and by our spiritual sense. Whether you believe in God or not, or whatever religion you are, when I talk about spiritual self, I'm talking about sense that you're part of something bigger, that we are all part of something greater, and that there is a universal force which is keeping everything together and it's governing everything.
Yeah.
You want to describe it as Mother Nature, be my guest. You want to describe it as God, be my guest. You want to describe it as a universe within yourself, awesome. Because I do not see any contradiction in anything. The only thing is required that you do sense that there is a something more than just you.
Yeah.
All of this affects the body. And all of this, if it's not properly aligned, can manifest in the body and vice versa. So my focus is the physical body, my focus is the physical exercise, but in that exercise, we are going to still infuse it with a bit of mindfulness. We are going to infuse it with a little bit of meditative breath. We are going to infuse it with a bit of healing. Or we may go completely on the other side, do a bit of counseling, hypnotherapy, or a healing so that the body can benefit.
That's amazing. Everything is integrated now. So that is in the new studio. The same name?
Yes.
AltaCelo or no?
AltaCelo. AltaCelo I found in Esperanto, which was meant to be a universal language, meant higher purpose.
Higher purpose.
Because I feel that all of us have a higher purpose, the purpose with which we came into this life, something we need to achieve apart from the lessons that we need to learn. And I feel that through this, I am walking my path of higher purpose.
And have you found in India, because it's, and I totally agree, in India, when I have had the opportunity to work with people from India, and since I go to India, since I met Anuraag in 2001, and keep going to India, and Vesna is my sister.
Yes.
And I'm staying in her house.
Yes.
That place that she is right now, we have been in that same place so many times talking. But India is like that. India is that open, that, as you said, it's in the DNA. It's like, it's part of their culture, it's part of their ancestors. But now that you are from Bosnia, you look different. You don't look Indian, right? How the people have received you with all the knowledge that you are providing, and are they willing to understand that the requirement that you say, that at least you have to see that is something much bigger than you, within you, whatever is the name that you want to put is okay? But what is the response of the people?
This is now, and it's my choice, or my fault, if you wish, that different people have different experiences from different aspects of me.
So some people love me and some people hate me. everyone.
No, because
I love the way you say, I will take that. Many people have different experiences of the different, how you say it? I love different parts.
Because
yeah,
see,
it's true.
When I start talking about this, it can become a lot.
Yeah.
It can become a lot, right? To me, it's very simple and there is space for everything. But when I kind of tell you, I am a physiotherapist.
You're
specialized in posture.
Yeah. No, that the audio is not there, but it's now there. It's okay.
I'm a physiotherapist and I'm a trainer and I'm a postural specialist and I'm a healer and I'm a counselor and I'm a medium. You know, and I'm Reiki master. It's like, what the hell?
And I'm
Who
a
are
mother
you?
and I
mean,
have a house and
like
I have
a
a
jack
studio.
because it becomes a jack of all trades. It becomes a jack of all. And by the way, at the moment, I hopefully in the next few years I will finish it. I'm studying naturopathy because
Yeah.
that is the part that kind of ties everything together, which I haven't been having. But to me, this is like a toolkit that, you know, you come to me with a certain thing. So I'm going to open my toolkit and we are going to use the tools that you need.
Exactly. You're eclectic.
So there are lots of people who only know me as a trainer. And I never bother telling them, hey, I'm more than just a trainer, because it doesn't matter. That's my ego talking.
Yeah.
Okay, so for lots of people, I'm a trainer. And I'm okay for that because that's what they needed. So if I have fulfilled their need, they got what they needed. I do not need to explain them what else am I, because that's not what they needed or wanted from me.
Yeah.
There are people who come to me only for a healing and only for energy work.
Yeah.
And they haven't spent any amount of time on the physics. So for them, I'm a healer.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm a mom. I am okay. So
Yeah.
I'm a guru. I am okay. And then there are people who experience the layers in between as well. Because I never bothered, as I said, never bothered to say, no, you need to know this as well. So what has changed now is that in this new space, that when we are having the other services under the same umbrella, then people are curious to know more about what else I do.
Nice. That's a very nice
So that is why I'm saying is, and to me it would be so funny because I would be hearing one client to say, oh nonsense, they're saying you're a trainer, but you're not, you're actually a physiotherapist and you have so much deeper knowledge. And I said, yeah, and they needed this, I needed. So I would have actually a clients who would know each other to have completely different experience with me. And then when they talk to each other, it wouldn't connect at all.
Exactly.
But as I said, it was my choice, but at the same time, I never bothered explaining more than that because I was like, when you need more from me, I can take another tool if that is applicable for you.
Yeah, I love that, Vesna, because I'm also consider myself eclectic in a way that the things that I do. And many people in my life have been always asking, like, could you please focus in one thing? And I don't understand why sometimes people need you to be in one thing if that person is not you. I mean, if you need this eclectic and you have all those tools that you can provide in your service, that you can provide, like, if you need this, yeah, I have it. If you need, I have it. And then how come you don't know those many things? And it's part of your life, and there's so many eclectic people in the world, and the way you have been putting together everything. And I love that now it's in the same place, the new studio, and that people can see and people can listen and people can understand that there are so many more things that you can provide in the service that you are giving to your clients, and they can also, if they are curious, to try something else, right? There's not just one thing, to try the other thing. So
and the other thing which I said is kind of what I'm, there is also probably people like you and I, we could get bored with one thing only.
don't tell me. Yeah, I'm enjoying this pandemic side, but because I do a lot of things and I have to be like, I have the clients in Singapore and I'm talking with the people there, and then the essential oils, and then this and then that. If I were doing one thing, I don't think I will like it.
So there is that, and again, it's selfish, I guess, because I don't like being bored. I don't want to be bored, and gives me this such a great large field. But at the same time, my vision for the place is to find and have associations and collaborations with the specialists in certain areas who are enjoying doing one thing and will probably have many layers, more layers of that one thing. so that the clients can be that whatever I sense and kind of pick up, that I can give them more attention through somebody else as well. And what I'm liking is that the response with the people that we are collaborating, they're loving idea of this kind of collaboration, which is actually across the fields in one space.
Mm.
And that because again, I was like, this is great, but I am one and I can have only this many hours. So
Of
how
course.
can I have this? Because I can have as many tools, but if I'm the only one using them, it is going to be very limiting in the number of people I can
Of
access.
course. Yeah.
But if I have my toolkit still, and if I use this toolkit and spread it to more people,
Yeah.
it becomes more accessible under the same umbrella and idea. I can actually be accessible, we can be accessible and reach more people.
Of course.
So
that's a very
that
nice.
is how, and I've been also very, very blessed to have a great mentors along the line, and you're being one of them. You're definitely, no, the kind of clarity, this is a thing that in all of this, I always need somebody to sort of bring me down to kind of reorganize things a bit so that we can, you have been so important in this whole process. I don't think I ever actually properly thanked you and explained you're still part of that process.
Of course,
It's
and
like
we will do
whenever
primal dance. When I go back to India, we will do primal dance in your new studio.
Absolutely. Because whenever I'm kind of trying the decision, I actually I have your voice in the head talking to me, and how does that should be put.
So my voice is also inside. You have your voice, you have my
your
voice.
voice is in my head too.
So sweet. Thank you very much. I mean, you are also part of, you know how important is our relationship for me also in our conversations. And sometimes we are till 2 or 3 a.m. in the morning talking and finding out, and it's beautiful. It's so beautiful, so beautiful. So Vesna, to close this space, like
yes,
grateful for this space with you and have you in ATMA. And really, I mean, I'm so proud of all the things that you are doing and how you are growing with your dream. It's not just how you serve the Indian people around you and all your employees and the people that collaborate with you, and through you, I met Diana, for example, and I met many people that your staff and your family, and how you have the focus that, yeah, sometimes you say, I don't know when you don't see it, but once you are there, how as I always say, you touch something and you start working, and if you have to put the stone like you were doing in the walking path that you did inside of the studio, if you have to do it on your own, because you want it in a way, you will go and work on that. So it's a way that you have the courage and the energy to make your dreams come true. And it's a lot of inspiration for many people. And I really, really appreciate that you can give that example to so many more. But to yourself, the satisfaction that make your dreams come true is amazing. So I just have to
so much. Thank you.
No, thank you for being here, and thank you for being part of my life, and thank you because I'm part of your life, you're part of both ways. I have a room in the house. They say when they talk, they say Beatriz room, and I'm like, oh, so silly. So
yes, it's still there.
It's still there. I'm
waiting
going.
Waiting for you.
So how you want to close? I give you the space, so you can close this session, this conversation.
The thing is that no matter what you might be going through at this point of time, this too shall pass. So that is one thing. Another thing is when you open yourself to the possibilities, a lot of things start developing your way. So I feel that finding that little window of the ray of light somewhere and kind of digging and reaching and the kind of opening that space is what starts bringing more light into you. And love, acceptance, forgiveness, that is all it takes. First, you need to accept, but in order to accept something, you need to forgive. Forgiveness starts with you, then with everybody else, because again, it ends with you. And that is when the immense amount of love towards you and towards everyone around you starts. Once you kind of, and that's like a mantra, accept, forgive, love, accept, forgive, love, accept. And that is always going for you, because whatever you do ultimately starts with you and ends with you. So even if you feel it's for somebody else, it's not. It is always that energy comes back to you. And then just keep opening, keep digging, keep walking, and be open to whatever life may have in store at that point of time.
So lovely. So,
Oh,
thank you very much. Say hi and big hug to Ami and Satish, and bye Anurag. That Anurag is our brother. He's
will
great to
do.
see.
Yeah,
That's
he's
my
there.
brother. That's the one that listens. The voice. Come to the screen so
He's-
people can see you.
He is from
This is
on
my
the right
Indian
there.
brother. This is my Indian brother. The first person I met when I went to India. So love you guys. Thank you very much,
Love you
Vesna.
too.
I love you. And
Thank
it's
you
always
so much
possible
for
to go
having
soon.
me.
Please.
Bye. See you soon. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Love you. Bye.